this last little bit of extra context I'm gonna throw out there is sort of it's a bit of here's the timeline, basically. We have the For the People Act, which would do a lot of things. One of the things it would do is to stop partisan gerrymandering. You would have to set up some sort of independent commission, not established in DC. All of it would be state level. Some of them would maintain the same independent commissions that they already have. So don't listen to, who was it, Graham? Yeah, Lindsey Graham. So here's the issue. In August, state lawmakers will begin the once per decade process of redrawing US House and other state legislative districts. Procedure Republicans are poised to use to wipe out Democrats' majority in the US House. The For the People Act would curb excessive manipulation of district lines for partisan gain. And if it isn't in place by August, Republicans would be free to freely gerrymander districts. Now, how much should this concern someone? Well, I apologize, I don't remember exactly where I saw it, but there was an analysis done of prospective gerrymandering that could be done this August that showed that fairly easily, without the Republicans having to become any more popular, do any better in the polls, simply through the gerrymandering, they could take control of the House. It's same exact situation from last November. They don't have to pitch any new policy or anything like that. They don't have to make any appeals. If they just maintain the level of support they had in the last election, which did not let them take control of the House and lost them the White House and lost them the Senate, they could take over the House just based off of that. And so that's what's lurking in just a couple of months. But right now, it's President Biden might bring it up on his trip across the US. He might say something.
You know,
and I would. So what's up?
I think I'm sorry. I appreciate your context, and I didn't mean to interrupt, but
no, it's okay.
It brought me, what you were just talking about brought me back to one of the earlier moments on the campaign that I recall where Joe Biden was actually, this is pre-South Carolina, where Joe Biden was actually floundering in the polls. And I remember him talking to the press corps and basically saying that he was the candidate, he was the guy who had enough relationships, enough pull to basically get majority in the House and the Senate. I remember him saying this, and I was like, you know what? That's actually a strong selling point. Why isn't he playing this up more? Why isn't this more a part of his appeal, at least in terms of how he is positioning himself in this conversation? That doesn't make sense. It just bothered me. And as you sort of contextualize or further contextualize the moment that we're in now, I am thinking about the very same thing. This is something that you should be shouting from the rooftops, because for all of the sort of people who align themselves with the Democratic Party, for anyone who considers themselves to be a progressive or a liberal or what have you, one of the things that we are watching and looking at is this notion of having a majority in both houses. And it's like, so what are you gonna do with that? And if you're talking about a situation where you could potentially lose that because of this filibuster and what's going on, so on and so forth, it just adds such rich and important context to voters who are paying attention that it almost serves to make the case for you so that you don't have to necessarily go as hard. I mean, you should, but you don't necessarily have to go as hard, because now you're talking to people about things that they can relate to and that matter to them. And it just, the life of me, I can't understand why he has this sort of, as it was said earlier, check the box mentality. Like, who, let's be honest here. Who are you trying to save face in front of? Who are you worried about offending?
I don't know. Mitch McConnell?
I can't understand. Like, who is it that you are trying to play nice with in the sandbox? You're the president of the United States, my guy. Like, figure it out. So, and again, I just don't, for all the sensibilities that are supposedly involved in politics and all the civility that is necessary in order to make Washington function somewhat, I still can't understand why being in that space, you're not for something that is a hallmark of your first term in office and will have very serious implications on A, whoever does run for president 3 years from now, and B, whether that person actually is going to be able to win, and then C, what kind of chambers of Congress you're handing over to them. I don't understand why you wouldn't make this a central part of your narrative.
Yeah, I think that you're right. He wanted to be president and he's gonna be president for like a couple more months. Will he use it? Stay tuned. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.